Okay, get my pop-out chat. Whew. Okay, there we go. Okay, just getting started on this stream, so I am piecing together a comic. This is me trying to get better at storyboarding, partially, among other things, because I'm still really bad at that, but I wanted to start improving my comic skills, because that is one of the last things I've got left to do before the year ends. And since everything else is kind of wonky these days, at least on my end, I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, so at least seeing if I can get ahead of the curve a little bit. So at some point this comic will get added to my list of stuff that I do on Webtoons, but for right now it's its own thing. It'll be a Patreon exclusive, just so I have an actual small update for everyone, since everything has kind of changed. At least in my life, everything's changed. It's mellowed out a little bit now, which, thank God for that. Real pain in the butt, because my family and I are finished with the doctor's stuff and some of the paperwork for right now. But the problem is, it's not done. Oh, it's not done by a long shot. So I just finished the paperwork for my father today. So I will legally be his caregiver at home now, which is good. I get a little bit of financial support from the state on that, so that'll help some of the bills around the house, because it's going to be a while before he ends up on Medicare, and can't force that. Even though I wish I could just snap my fingers and be done with that and just say, okay, it's done. So this is me trying to get back into doing work, because we've had a real nasty heat wave over here. I know most of the world actually has too. So it's all a matter of getting through what's coming. So I'm trying to get a little bit more stylization with Dungeons and Debt. You can see I'm finding little things to do on the side. So I actually haven't drawn or animated anything for several days. I've had a little bit of luck the other day, finally. Yeah, just the heat wave we had and the AC in the house was down, so we got a spare little AC unit that we got downstairs, because that's for my father to keep him cool. So that got us through the 105-degree weekend. And then we had a really nice windstorm the other day that cooled everything off, and I was actually able to work with that. I'd love to get some more of that, but don't think it's in the cards today anyways. So this is me taking the first shot from the toon. Here, I'm going to get rid of red right there. So I've got my... This is what the animated background was. And I'm just going to essentially trace over a little bit of that. and then make everything a little bit more toony, since I am trying to simplify things just a little bit. But I don't want to sacrifice too much detail. We'll just switch colors here. There. So the idea is I'm trying to go for just a little bit more stylization on my line work. So I'm still trying to find a new format to do animated shorts in, since I had some good luck with the last 2 shorts I made. The only problem is now I have to get back in the saddle, and for the last week and a half I haven't done much. Some of it is the heat, some of it is just taking care of my father. So he's perked up really well over the last 2 days. A little loopy today because of his chemo. Chemo is not fun. It actually hit him a little harder today than it has in the past. So I don't know if it's because of the accumulation of it or what. So I'm just looking forward to everything being finished for just a little bit, so I can establish a routine again. Because I would like to have a routine. I miss having a routine. Because I work really well with routines, because then I can let my mind wander a little bit more clearly. Yeah, there you. So let me double check my art reference real quick here. Because I had a reference for drawing trees that I really liked. Oh, stop being a dickweed, Google. Ugh. Yeah, there is such an art form to drawing trees. I've never been able to quite get it down, but I'm trying. Because I want to get a hint of some of that stylization. Stylization is a real wonderful thing. And I've never been very good at setting a style. I've only been pushing for it the last few years. So I'm playing catch up. Because this is my 1 year I get to grow as an artist just a little bit. And I wish I had more time. But either way, so I think I can be a little lazy at the start of this comic and build up as I go. So the idea is very simple. I just adapt the first episode of Dungeons in Debt that I animated, and I'll do a little comic to go with it where it'll essentially be the same thing. The only difference is comics are really a lot more about moments, I seem to be finding anyways. And rather than have an action scene, it's a collection of action moments. So I've been storyboarding in my head since last night, since I was having a little bit of trouble sleeping. So yeah, you see right there, now everything is a little bit more clear. I really am trying to push my line work just a hair, because I want to really capture a sort of gentleness. Oops. Yep, there's Flash doing what Flash does. I swear, I'm going to have to learn Adobe Illustrator one of these days, just because Flash is, well, it's, well, for the better or worse, Flash is Flash. So how's everybody's day been? Everything in my life has mellowed out just a little bit since we got my father back home. Had to take last week off because of the trip. You know, driving 7.5. Actually, yeah, no, 7.5 hours in one day, and that was a round trip. That was a lot, and that took a toll. And unfortunately, I'm not as young anymore, so I got to be a little bit more cautious with what I do. But we got my father home. Now the hard part is starting to rear its head because he's got a follow-up appointment on Monday. And then after that, we'll probably have another follow-up a few weeks down the road. So we need to keep an eye on him. Hey, it's almost, look at that. That's almost looking decent. Almost anyways. But it's going to be a series of doctor's appointments for the rest of his life. And so the good news is, at the very least for right now, I got his Medicare paperwork going. I got the state caretaker paperwork going. I have to stop by their office tomorrow and fill out my half of the paperwork. And then we'll get a little financial aid, and I can chip in a little bit more for rent. I'm going to see about chipping in specifically the $100 or so that I'm putting down extra. I'm going to see if I can get that going on the mortgage, just to see if we can get the mortgage paid off a little bit faster. Every little bit helps. Okay, one last thing to do. So these are middle-aged people problems, I'm sure, but I'm middle-aged now, which still feels kind of strange, because 42 is kind of that's the start of middle age now. It feels really weird, because sometimes I look in the mirror and I forget how old I am. Or maybe I don't want to remember how old I am. I'm not sure yet. But nobody really wants to be 42. Nobody really wants to be 52, 64. We just kind of want to be, I don't know. I think I think staying in your 30s is a little bit more comfortable, because then your body's working a little bit better in certain things. You recover from injuries faster. But these are just my musings on a lot of this stuff. So here we go. So we have most of this tree down. I've got this big white spot here. I'm not sure what to do with it just yet. And then you can see the leaves here are very empty. So if I remember correctly, the way I used to get out of that was something I read from an old Miyazaki comic. And this is sort of how he did it. And it's funny. You look at the grandmasters of these old comics and manga and anime. All their tricks are still good 20, 30, or even 40 years later. It all depends on how you use them as an artist. As you can see right there, now it's not perfect. Let's see. That's what I wanted. So what I have to do in order to really sell this, because right now it kind of looks like it's the same thing, is stretch it out in between, like so. Because now it looks a little disconnected. But these are all small things I'm learning, because I get this 1 year, and my year is almost up. because next year is almost around the corner. I really had my 1 year of developing skills and stuff kick in about this time last year. Yep, there we go. Still not great, but I'm not going to complain because I'm still learning how to do all this stuff. Because I've postponed all this stuff for so long. And I want to get better. Well, I want to. I have to get better. I have to get better really quick. So, see, there we go. We've got a hint of texture there now. So now this all looks a little bit stronger. You know, you can still make out that, yes, this is a tree. So it's really quite nice. And I'm gonna do just a hair more of this down here. So right now, since I've had to postpone animation just a bit, because I have to get back in the right mindset for it, I'm also finishing up one gentleman's cartoon. And he's been very patient with me, and it's been halfway done for a week. But he knows my situation has been erratic. And now that my father's home, that presents new problems in terms of production time, because every day is just a little bit different for my dad. But that's how this cancer works, because some days it's not going to be the cancer. Some days it's going to be the medication making him a little loopy. And some days he's going to have body aches, which he had a few days like that. And it gets to be kind of a drag, because there's very little I can do because of the medication he's on. Yeah, can't interrupt it. Gotta let the medication do its thing, and gotta let my father sit there in pain. Nope, can't give him no painkillers or nothing like that, because it might interfere with either the kidney pills or the chemo or any of that stuff. And I'm hoping that all this nonsense gets resolved, and he can go into remission and have a few years. Even though I would prefer to him to have the rest of his life in remission. I know some people do get fortunate enough to do that when they have this condition. But the cancer never goes away fully. So we're just playing it day by day, which I don't always like, because I am a fan of routine. And there we go, look at that. So I'm just going to add a fraction more detail over in this little section right here, and call it a day on the tree, because you can see red's right there. And then I've got to add in the rest of this background here. I got to make sure that the caverns is a little bit more imposing visually than what I had when I made the animation. And then I just got to finish up the layer there, and boom, that's my establishing shot all finished. Because I really want to push myself to be better at art, and the only way to do that is to stop dicking around as much. Which is very hard, because dicking around when you do artwork is how you learn. At least that's how I learn. So right now, we're just kind of waiting for life to leave my family alone for just a little while. So on the trip to go get my father out of the hospital, we took the elevator, and on the way down, the elevator locked us in. We weren't locked in for too long. It was about 5-10 minutes. But that's 5-10 minutes of wondering, okay, are we going to be trapped in here? Because it stopped a floor in between floors. And so we had to get, they already had the mechanics working on another elevator shaft, so they got us out of there. Then on the way home, I got pulled over by the highway patrol because my tags are expired. Now I purchased temporary tags, but I had the temporary tag paper placed in the front dashboard, and I got let go with a warning. And the officer saw my dad's medical bracelet, and just basically said, "Okay, well, I'm not going to bother you too much. You got a 3-hour drive home. Let you go deal with that. But come with me into my vehicle in the front seat for a little bit. Just want to make sure you are who you say you are, and you don't got any warrants or anything like that." So I just went in there, and I didn't have a problem. And I didn't have a problem because the AC in his vehicle was working, and the AC in my vehicle was down because of my AC relay not working. And I didn't get the part to fix that until Saturday. So 3.5 hours later, we were home. And then that morning, when my mother and I left and started everything out, we had no hot water, so we had to take cold baths. You know, you do the bird bath thing where you douse yourself real quick with water and soap and just try not to freeze, because even though the hot water wasn't working, it was still giving us nice ice cold water. And so when my father and I went downstairs to see why the water heater wasn't working, we had a puddle. It was about 1.5 feet deep. And it turns out the water heater, we thought the pilot light might have went out. The water heater exploded. And it exploded from the top, which is very weird. But that's what happened. So we've had to be taking cold baths up until today. Because we had the plumbers stop by, and was it $1,300 later? They removed the old water heater, got the new one in, and all that muck downstairs is finally subsiding. Because we don't have a basement, we have a cellar. And so all that water's been collecting down there. So hell of a week. And it's just really nice that everything has calmed down some, at least for right now. Because on Monday, my dad's got to go in and get a blood test, and then he's got to have a computer call with his oncologist. And everything kind of depends on how everything goes, because as we're trying to keep him fattened up, because the chemo is keeping him from gaining weight while it's killing off all the cancer cells, because his bone marrow is almost gone. The multiple myeloma cancer cells ate up 80% of his bone marrow, which I've said in previous streams. Which means he's going to have a self-marrow transplant, which would, in theory, put him in to remission, as it's that seems to be how this works. And because it's a self-marrow transplant, you got less a chance of it rejecting your own marrow. But if we do that, that'll give him a chance. He'll have double the marrow. And eventually his immune system will recover some. But for right now, he's on antibiotics because he has very little immune system. So There's lots of stuff I'm having to juggle. Got to keep track of my time now for the state, because it'd be nice to get the financial aid that comes with being a caregiver for a family member here. There we are. Yeah. Look at that. That's almost looking like it's an actual comic page. But yeah. Whew. Everything has been crazy for Christ, a month. Yeah, a month now. Everything has been all over the place for home life around these parts. And it feels kind of nice now that everything is settled down and a routine is setting in. Double check where's my reference image? There is my reference image. Okay, yeah, geez. There is a real nice bit of minimalism that comes with being a comic artist that I'm still not quite there yet. But yeah, it's fun to learn, because these guys are on top of everything, and they could just sell everything visually with only a few strokes, or in the case of what I'm doing, mouse clicks. Oh, that's why. Okay. I was wondering why my path had vanished. Because I'm a much more stylized artist. Some of it is necessity, some of it is simplicity, some of it is time. Not that I can't be bothered. I just don't have the time I used to now. Because I'm trying to sort out some of my artist foibles, just for the sake of being able to get a little bit more content done faster. Because if you see right there, it's a very clear and simple image. But I'm not done with it yet, because next step is to add in the crystal cavern, and I keep looking for something a little special to do with that. So, because I like stylization very much, but when I animated this, I didn't make it look as organic as I could have. I'm kind of trying to see if I can't do just a little bit better on that. But who knows? So, yeah, one of the key things I really am trying to work on more as an artist, outside of a person, is just trying to be more positive. Because maybe it's just because of the fact of what I'm dealing with at home now. I really am trying to be more positive, just because we don't need any more negativity around here. But also the internet has become a real negative place as it is anyways. It's, got to keep people angry. Angry people buy stuff. Happy people are content. So I don't want to fall into that trap if I can help it. There we are. Because it's, at the very least right now, it is. Hey, that's not looking too bad. Even though it is a hot day, around where I live, it's a nice day. It would be a better day if I could have gotten my title transfer, not my title transfer, my new car title papers done just a little bit earlier, but I was 30 minutes late and I forgot banks around where I live now, they don't stay open past 3:30. So that'll teach me next time to pay more attention to what's going on clockwise. So, how's everybody else doing these days? Hope everyone's getting hydrated. Okay. Just gotta get this last crystal set up here. Here we are. Doesn't look too bad for a start. Just gotta correct this a little bit because I'm trying to be better with my fine line work. So I really like, I've been finding myself getting really attracted to I guess some of the older, more simplified line work, but you want everything to look nice. There we go. So once I get a little bit more stuff done, and if I can get back in sync with stuff, we will get back to the Let's Make a Cartoon stream, because that is something I really want to make work. Even though I may have to simplify things a little further, just because what I have is still complex, and it's not the right type of complex either. There we go. There we go. I am almost there. I have not decided how I'm going to color this, or if I'm going to do any minimal shading to it. Because there's a lot of different things I could do. And they're all kind of nice ideas, but I want to try and capture just that little bit of simplicity where you get a hint of detail and then you leave it at that. So I've still got time. I hear cats making noises again. Okay, so here is the Crystal Caverns, and they don't look very crystal right now, but I'll see what I can do about that later. So I just need to increase the size a little bit more, just to try and make it stand out just a little bit more, maybe be slightly more imposing. But there we go. But having the character stand before that should do the trick. Nope. Come on, Flash. Stop being difficult. Okay, there's our cavern. So, if I remember correctly, the way to do this is probably going to have to be done in the shading, but I can do a little bit of that right here. So I just need to add a little bit more edge to the crystal shards here, because some of that's going to be done through color. but you can always sneak in just a little bit of detail here. So this weather we're in right now is almost making me yearn for fall, even though fall is very short where I live. And winter is very long. But I suppose as long as I don't have to deal with weather being 105 degrees like we had over the weekend, I should be okay. Just save my file right there. Because, yeah, everything's kind of ass backwards here sometimes. But that's what happens when you live in a small town. Oops. Just one is enough. Yeah, so far the only real complication I've had is getting that car piece that I needed. Because nobody in town had it. Nobody the next town over, which is 77 miles away, they didn't have it either. They would have had to have ordered it, and it would have taken a few days. And so I had to order it online from AutoZone. Because the part is such a pain to get, I ordered 2 of them, and they only shipped me 1. So now I'm waiting to get my refund back on my car at AutoZone. Because it'd be kind of nice to get that back since you only shipped me 1 piece. There we are. So, there. That's what I wanted to get a little bit of. So I just mix in a little bit of that here and there. Even it's, still more lazy man's details. But everything adds up. Oh. Thank you. Try and correct that just a smidge. As you can see right there now, it looks like there's just a little bit more going on with the art. So, hey SG boy. Yeah, the everything on my end is just a little wonky. We had some blackouts because we had a really big windstorm. So that didn't help. And then because my sleep schedule has been all messed up for the past several weeks, I've been kind of behind on sleep as well. And now that everything is calm, finally, I'm getting back to that. But, yeah, so I get to finish up the last of the paperwork for right now regarding my father's caretaking stuff, and then we're just waiting on Social Security around these parts. Because they, unfortunately, are the next step to getting my father on Medicare. Because the situation he's in is, unfortunately, never going to go away. So, we're just trying to keep everything going. Dealing with the government is weird. It's unpleasant, it's unpredictable, even though the people you deal with are nice. It's just it's the waiting game a lot of the time. But at the very least, I'm finished with some of that nonsense. And we'll just do this. And done. So that's going to be the line work for right there. But yeah, everything is mostly getting back to normal over here, even though normal is going to be something a little different now. I'm still trying to find some ways to improve my watch time on YouTube. since I got enough subs now to be a partner, but I'm really bad on watch time. So I just haven't come up with the right short idea, I suppose, because I'm doing my YouTube research now that I've got time. Trying to find out how to promote myself just a little bit better, so I don't have to work as hard. But I don't have enough tunes yet, so for my catalog either. So I've been watching people's short tunes and seeing what other creators are doing, which is something I normally don't do because I like to just do my own thing. But we'll wait and see, because I want to try and get some more. I want to try and get at least 3 or 4 more tunes out this year that are at least 2 minutes long. And then I want to try get maybe 2 more shorts. But the problem is, there we go. Problem is right now, I'm still processing everything that's going on, and now that the veil of stress has been lifted, I can start thinking a little more clear. But I'm not thinking the way I normally do, for better or worse. So the stress isn't gone completely, but it's gone enough for me to function a little bit more. That's always nice. I'm also trying to finish off getting my car title replacement from California, and those weasels like to take their time. They can take their time on their stuff. But I've been waiting for a while on some of this stuff, and it's kind of draining. So I'm just piecing together silly things. Unfortunately, I'm still not sure what way the wind is going to be blowing with my father's health. Because right now, he is perked back up. He's actually more or less how he used to be, to a point. He does not have the energy he used to. He's still in a fair amount of pain. Some of that's the drugs. Some of that's the chemo. Some of that's the cancer. And he does have some trouble getting dressed a little bit, because his back and his hips were what was hit hardest by the chemo. I mean, not the chemo, by the cancer. Blech. So I've been trying to see what's going on in the world of YouTube shorts, and still not quite there yet. Just because I know everybody's fickle and has things they like. And I'm still trying to figure out that stuff, because, you know, part of me still wants to do what I like, but I'm still trying to sort things out. I know video game parodies will always be something everybody enjoys. And part of me has been tempted to do some parodies on that awful Netflix Resident Evil series. I don't want to subject myself to that, and I don't want to have to watch an actor who's as good as Lance Reddick have to carry an entire show that was written by people who don't care about quality. Besides, I'm not sure there's anything I could do that other people haven't already joked about on social media. Because I know Japan is not a fan of Netflix's Resident Evil. And their biggest complaint is it's boring. So now I keep thinking, oh, maybe now's the time for me to do that Resident Evil animated short that I was going to do, where I was actually just going to do something serious. And then I keep thinking about how much time it's going to take me to do it, and then I start worrying about my script. So, and I keep worrying about all kinds of stuff, and the more I worry, the less I do, and I got to break out of that cycle. Let's see. Speaking of how soon we can see more joy-related content, it'll be a little while, not too much. I have to finish up the comic from last month that I didn't get a chance to finish because I everything fell apart when I had to take my dad to the ER. And I don't know if it's because of what's happened. I'm just questioning my own. I'm questioning my skills more and more on whether or not I'm able to really put out something good. It's just paranoia and trying to recover from everything that's happened. But I do need to get back to that. So, right now it's still kind of in the air, just a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately I was going to do an animated trailer for another guy's video game, and I had to look over everything very seriously last week. And I was realizing, since I'm not even functioning at a quarter speed as an artist or an animator right now because of everything going on, and then not knowing what things are going to be like at home, which so far they've been pretty hectic in spurts, I had to say no to it. I had to say no to him, which I hated doing, because any other time I would have been able to power through and get his project done and make him happy, and become a step closer to being an actual indie web animator. But with the project, I'm not finished with the first guy's cartoon yet. I'm going to get back to doing some more of that tonight, which will be nice. And then I need to do some Joy short tunes at some point. It's just the clutter in my mind is finally clearing up, but it's not clearing up fast enough for my tastes. And that's when I realized I have to cut back on all the work that I was going to do. And I don't like that, because I was planning on making Dungeons and Debt this really fun animated short series that was going to be its own series of silly tunes on YouTube and everything. And that approach is gone, because now I have to start looking at things a little differently, because it would take me probably a month and a half to get stuff done. And unfortunately, that's too long for a tune now. So what I'm trying to find out how to do is more stuff I grew up with. The old Tom and Jerry, Chuck Jones, situational comedy stuff where it's just a series of single incidents and moments that familiar characters get caught up into. So I'm looking at doing some of that, but I haven't quite gotten all my answers yet, and that's kind of irritating, just because I should have been able to stay the course on what I was going to do originally, but with everything changing the way it is now in my life, I have to change with it. So what I'm probably going to end up doing more with Dungeons in Debt is going to be more short form Tom and Jerry isms. Even though I wanted to do kind of a series of micro stories, it's now just going to have to be a series of unrelated micro tunes. So one tune that's coming up is going to be I guess what would technically be the second tune, only condensed and modified, where Red gets tossed out of the pawn shop and has had to sell her armor to pay off her bill. And then so she's in town and sees a coin and goes after the coin, and it takes her to an alley and she gets beat up and mugged. And then she loses her sword and shield, and now she's starting over almost entirely. But I'm trying to find just a little bit more of a twist to add to it than just that, because I have my little story structure rule. And what I want to do is I want to have, in the middle of every tune, have something happen that didn't match up. So in the first tune I did, it looks like she's going to have to be dodging traps, when in reality she has the sword fight with the Marrow Man. I'm just calling skeletons Marrow Men now. And so, yep, she's got to start at the bottom, so that's why she loses her nice shield and nice sword. And it'll allow me to introduce another character who mugs her. At least I can introduce the character a little sooner. But in my quest for YouTube research and everything else that I was reading over, the next step is going to be the hardest. Because it's not actually animating a tune, it's coming up with that damn clever title that makes it, that everybody will question and want to click on. And I'm not quite there yet. I mean, I could call the episode 2 one of those days. And one of those days can mean anything to a lot of people. But I have to sort of add something a little more unique to it than that. So there's that, and then I need to get started on making the changes to the Joy tunes, where everything gets really weird and really surreal, like what I was talking about in the other stream, where now it's all the kids at the school are technically monsters, and they're out there trying to survive the school actually importing real monsters, because there's no money in education, but there's money in monster subsidies. So there you go. And I was having a lot of fun with that idea, thinking it over on the drive home. So that's what I want to get into. But the problem is finding the right story to start with, because that's always been a problem. I will come up with ideas that are perfect for the middle of something, and a lot of these short ideas, not so much stuff that's good for starting off. That's why I was thinking about my comic series that I want to do, which is part of why I'm doing Dungeons in Debt right now, to build myself up just a little bit more for when that happens. Because my paneling is still kind of wonky, but I need to sort that out. So the idea is still going to be Joy fighting monsters that the government has shipped to school. And then the other factions in the school that are stuck dealing with everything. All in all, it's started to become a little bit more Game of Thrones than I ever thought. I mean, I've only seen a few episodes of that show anyways, which I already know how it ends, and I know how everybody hated the ending. And then I know that everybody hates George R.R. Martin because he's done with the series and doesn't want to end it. Which is funny, because even though Kentaro Miura passed away last year, almost a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, his best friend is finishing his comic for him. And I've been keeping up with the new chapters. And I'm impressed that they're still able to keep everything feeling like he's still there, even though they're not catching the art perfectly. They're getting about 80% of it. And the problem is Miura was just that good. Yeah, the problem with Game of Thrones, at least for me, was it's the type of show and concept where it shows you why being a good guy is a bad idea. and there's something very medieval history about how characters deal with problems in that show, where the solution is usually to have somebody killed, or frame somebody so that they lose favor, and stuff like that. And that's I'm not sure if that would be English or French or Irish royalty that would do stuff like that. They all did it on some level. But that really was the show that kind of makes you realize, wow, being a good guy, who's gonna go out there and fight the duel and do all that stuff, how dangerous that is when everybody wants you to lose because someday you might be a threat to them. So that's just me looking at that a little objectively. Because there was stuff in there that I saw that I liked, but then I always remember where the series heads to, and then just kind of lose interest. Okay, so tree 1 is done, tree 2 stump is almost done. I'm making up how to do a tree stump as I go on this, just because I'm feeling experimental. Because at some point I'll figure out a better way to do this down the road, but for episode 1 this will do. Because it's not bad. So what I will end up doing is use some of that light minimal color shading for some of this, just so you get a little bit of that lazy man detail that helps create an illusion of depth. Dropping stuff on my desk. And then I need to adjust this because I was taking some time to study line work, how to capture better ridges on stuff like tree bark and stuff like that. Getting a better idea at how to do some of that. So, but yeah, my one problem with my own little medieval series is I'm trying to keep it more focused on the characters instead of the world they live in, because no matter what I do, everything keeps going back to the world that they live in, and that might attract the wrong crowd for my work, because there's oppression in there, and there's classism, tribalism, all that stuff. And yeah, we've got all that stuff in real life too, but even though it keeps coming back up to being a major theme in what I'm trying to write, and I don't like that. You know, we've had too many stories from the mainstream comics and other indie comics who tried to cash in on this God knows how many years ago. And I don't like stories about that stuff. I like stories about individuals. That was always something about Berserk that I really loved, how Miura does not really get into society, because he's got the Band of the Hawk. They're the outsiders, and you would think that they would get into more of how things function in Midland, but they don't, and that's a good thing because you get just the basics. And unfortunately, with how my mind works, I keep looking for the intricacies, and the intricacies on stuff like that are not interesting to me. But they're logical, which is a problem, because it's, every country has some crude caste system. And while that is part of the story I'm trying to tell, it keeps coming back as a main selling point in a lot of ways, and I don't want that. I want it to be about characters trying to survive in a pretty brutal, dogmatic, and twisted world. And I haven't figured out how to get away from a lot of that crap. Someday I will. But for right now, I'm stuck with it, and I don't like that, because at the end of the day, it's not interesting. What is interesting is letting characters be characters. That's where the excitement is, because sometimes when you write this stuff down, the characters surprise you themselves. You realize it's not entirely, oh, damn it, it's not entirely you that's writing everything. Where what the story has a life of its own, and you're just tapping into that a little bit. And so I want to. I've only had that happen a few times, but I want to really get back into that, because it's bumping here. I'm bumping stuff again because it's fun. You know, that's when you get to sit back as an author and let the story do the hard work, and all you have to do is point it in a certain direction. And I haven't been able to do that so much with a lot of my more recent stuff over the last few years. I still have to take charge, but I'm getting there. There we go. Correct that little flaw. Okay, we've almost got a panel done. I'll just push her down there. Now the hard part. I gotta do a tree. And I gotta do it a certain way. Since this is all a fantasy world, everything has to just look a little bit more fantastic. So let's see, I believe this is what I was going to do, because I was drawing this over in the pizza parlor earlier today. Not earlier today, yesterday. I keep looking for that middle ground, as I always like to point out. Yeah, it's like being a DM with NPCs. The only difference is everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and I can sit back and watch it. And sometimes I can guide it and come up with my own stuff. I'm rewriting my webisode pilot out of paranoia, since I'm still not doing very well in the screenwriting competitions. I should be placing a little bit higher than honorable mention or official selection. That's all good. Not that that's bad. It's all good stuff, but I gotta really push myself further, and because I've only sorted out how to do a lot of this stuff this last year, the problem is sorting out how to do it a little bit better. And screenwriting is, that's the problem with screenwriting. It's all just words, and that's where you have to really nitpick. And I'm still kind of finding the right stuff to nitpick at, because you got to find that unique way to show off something special about your character. And I'm not quite there with Sheena yet. She's a good character. She's pretty original in a lot of ways, and that's helped me out a lot. But I think some of it is her emotional depth needs a little bit more. And it's very comic booky, which is fine because it was written to be like a 1930s adventure serial. But I don't think I'm quite there yet with her. So I'm trying to find instead of having to keep nitpicking on the same scene over and over again, I started to rewrite from scratch and look for little additions. Because you want conflict. That's what readers love to see. And you want your main character dumped on, not too much, but you got to show that they're in trouble in some way, and they can't deal with it or they won't deal with it. So that's what I'm really excited to try and sort out. Because I realized because my routine for creating stuff has been disrupted, I haven't been able to get all the ideas out that I wanted to. Well, now I'm starting to get that sorted out. It's getting there. even though it's just small things. But I want to really get that I really want to get that kick-ass webisode out. And I want to try and make it match the period that it's written in. I want to have my Lovecraft elements to it. I want to have my 1930s adventure serial moments too. And there we go. So let's see, what was I doing for this? That's what I was doing for this. But I also want to, I really want to try and get that Resident Evil tune done, because I can put out something that nobody's ever really done, and I know why they, after going through it in my head for 10 years, I can understand why. Because my God, trying to write some of this stuff and make it work is hard, and then it's harder when you realize you're adapting something that's sacred, even though I've got some good solid ideas. That's hard. And then the worst part is realizing you have to do a completely different approach to it to make it work. That's going to get me in trouble. But at this point, since there have been no good adaptations of Resident Evil for the 20 years that it's been an IP in movies and TV, what's the worst I can do? Here we are. Tree 1, Tree 2 is almost there. I will probably just put Tree 3 there and call it a day on this panel for the moment, because I have other things that I'm going to do, because I do have to put in the close-up of Sheena right there, which is going to cover, yeah, it's going to cover up that tree. Oops. Where are you? Thank you. But I can also cannibalize that tree a little bit later, but for now I have to do everything properly. I have to get all the details in there. Let's see, I think this pattern was what I was doing to make things work last time. Yeah, that works. Okay. So what you been up to today, SG boy? There we go. Yeah, that's looking nice. Yeah. We just got to put one last layer of this down here, and then this tree is done. No, you're going to be in Michigan for a month. Hope you have a safe trip. Yeah, I'm trying to plot out taking my father out for a trip next year, but it all depends. Because he is going to have his bone marrow surgery. And hopefully, and that will allow his body to function better. The idea is I was going to take him down to Texas next June if we can. So my grandfather, his father, is in a retirement home in Texas. And then about 3 hours away is Cross Plains, Texas. And Cross Plains, Texas is where Robert E. Howard was born, and that's always been my father's favorite author. And so they got the Howard Museum. And I was going to take him to the Robert E. Howard Museum for Howard Days in June next year if everything works out, because it's like a 12-hour drive. But we'll see. Everything's still kind of up in the air. So. Yeah, the airlines are pretty unreliable right now. My local airline, we were going to fly my mom to go visit my father last Monday, and they were down. And they were down because, unfortunately, they were only making one trip because they didn't have enough pilots. I don't know if it's because the pilots are protesting the vaccine mandate. I don't know if it's employment issues where they want raises or better health care or something like that, but where I live, the pilots are only doing one trip, and it would turn a 1-hour flight into like a 2.5-hour flight, because then the plane would have to go to Sydney. And we just didn't want to do that. There's also the fact that my father's ID is expired, so he couldn't get on the plane. I have to get him a real ID. When I say real ID, I don't mean that stupid government real ID crap that they're pushing, even though I can't get around that other than by getting a passport. But there. Okay, we've got one panel. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the pilots. I'm sure whatever's going on, they know what's going on, and so I'm not going to get involved in it. Okay. Yeah, I would say it probably still sounds like the pilots are just done with the FAA. Okay. One of these days, I would still love to be able to fly to Japan for like a 2-week vacation, but I don't know if that's ever going to be in the cards for me with how things are going in my life. There we go. Okay. We've got a tree, got bushes. Yeah, the way to get out around Real ID is you get a passport instead. I don't know what the lifespan of Real ID is. Depending on what it is, I may just end up getting the passport and paying the extra $70 if the passport lasts longer. Okay. There we go. We have one panel mostly done. I've still got to add the close-up of red for right there. Oh, okay. Yeah, it'd be nice to know. Okay. So I will add just the one tree right here. And it is going to be Real ID is only good for 6 years. Holy shit. That's a scam. God damn. You can never turn your back on the government, because all the Real ID is it's a travel tax. God, that's depressing. I tell you what, I will add a boulder. right here, just because we've got some blank space that needs to be filled up just a little bit. Frickin' government. I ain't even sure if I want to live in this country sometimes, just because of all the crap that they're doing to nickel and dime us so damn much. But then I realize that every country's going to be doing something like this. And I'm not sure if they're going to be worse or if they're going to be better. But I don't like it either way. I kind of just want things to be left alone if they're not going to bother anyone. Oh, I hear the puggies woofing in the backyard. Must be little kids. Yeah, my folks have two pugs. Two pugs. They've got three pugs. Two of them are from the same litter, and then there's their mother. She's not too impressed with them. I'm more of a cat person, so I don't mind pugs. They're little weirdos. Yep, there's no real good country to live in right now. Every country is kind of really just in a lot of shit right now. And I know there's lots of cretins on Reddit that keep looking to Europe as some kind of a safe haven, but Europe is in some of the deepest shit that they've ever been in right now. So I had my aunt visiting, and she keeps up with a lot of the agricultural stuff because she's a farmer. She said the farming shortages that are going on right now that you're not seeing in the media are terrifying, and the countries that are going to get ruined by it are Europe. So for some reason Europe is just declaring war on its farmers and not allowing them to farm. It's almost like they're creating some kind of a food shortage artificially on their own. Not that you're going to be allowed to talk about that pretty soon, because I've been seeing people getting banned on that on YouTube. So I don't know. But she said the US should be okay, even though we're going to be we got the same type of idiots running everything. Okay, there. So that's a basic panel done. And I've still got all this that I never got around to using. But I don't think I want to use that either, because that was just there for my reference. Because, yeah, you can still see it's blank and everything. I can add a little bit more detail. But this doesn't look too bad. It's kind of exciting, even though I really didn't do too much work here, because I just used red as a reference from the image there. But because this is hair, I should add a little bit of detail to her hair. Oh, wrong. But yeah, Europe has, I think Europe has screwed itself, and that's not a good thing. It's bad enough I'm reading about China implementing the military to protect the banks right now, and they're not letting their citizens withdraw money. They're now saying the money is the bank's property and product. They got tanks out there surrounding a few of them. And I just saw that the other day, and I saw pictures of it. And I think hard times are here. And I don't think there's any government in the world that has the right people equipped to ease the tension right now. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but you know, we've got too much dead weight here in Congress. Canada's got too much dead weight in their parliament. I think Britain is nothing but dead weight. And I think China's ready to take back Taiwan, and I don't think there's anything anybody can do to stop them. Because I know I've been hearing rumors for like I know there were rumors on 4chan about China invading everything. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, 8 months back there were rumors, and sure enough, some of those rumors did come true. They did not invade Taiwan yet. I hope they don't. But I don't know. Everything is so freaking weird right now. It's like there's nobody to trust. Okay. So now red's got a little bit of detail. Got a little bit of detail here in the foreground. The last thing that needs to happen, and this is always the tricky part, is the background. Because background detail is usually going to be 2 layers. Because I need to have some mountains. Oh no, don't you... Flash is being difficult. I've got to shut down the file and then reopen it again. Thank you. Okay, that's what I was worried about. That line is too thick. Where are you? But everything is kind of falling apart. I've been, you know, seeing the diesel. I've been seeing diesel prices skyrocketing. Well, that's our supply chain here in the U.S. We lose the truckers. We lose everything. And some of this stuff feels so monumentally stupid in how it's being handled. I can't help but wonder if it's being done on purpose, but then again, what do I know? I'm not in government. There we go. Yeah, I call these rocks bottle caps. Because they, bottle rocks. Because I take the similar shape of a bottle. And that's how I create the illusion that there's a little bit more going on back there than there actually is. The only problem is this doesn't curve upward enough. Because I want this to feel a little bit more like it's being dwarfed in scope. Fortunately, the last thing I can do to have to keep myself from drawing everything over is when you do something like this, where now you can kind of make it work. Now you can see there's a little bit of something else going on here, so I'm not sure what texture I'm going to use for the mountains in the back yet, but these are the type of problems I can fuss about later. Because I want to have a little something here. Because you can see it's just a little too simplistic right now. When it gets to be like that, I just do stuff like this. Okay, very good. I'm not too keen on that, but let's see how it looks now. Okay, we've got just a little bit of got a little bit of that now. That's looking much better. Because what I'm going to also do, I'm going to have trees down here. But because I am so OCD on stuff, and because I want this to have a certain symmetry, I just do this where I choose a color. So that's going to be the shape of the mountains. Yep, I hear the cat's making noise. Yeah. There. Oh, wrong color. Come here, you. Just add a little bit of edging here to make it look like there's just a little more detail there than there actually is. Because if I get rid of that, you can see it's still a little heavy, which I actually don't want, because I want it to be faded. Come on, thank you. And to look just a little bit more faded in the background, because that's how you can get good perspective in imagery. As I do more of this and get better at it, it won't take me as long, which is comforting. Because I think what I'm going to start doing is, rather than just do the tunes, I will do a few comics of the tunes, and they will technically double as storyboards. Because that is, my storyboard game is still real weak. I could be doing a lot better, or I could actually be doing it. So I want to try and get that sorted out so I can get better backgrounds and better character motion. Because it was really nice that last episode I did where I was able to up my game just a little bit in a few areas. So we'll see how things go with that. The backgrounds are still something I'm kind of weak at, though. Some of it is still me nitpicking too much. Some of it is me not nitpicking the right things. There we go. Okay, double up my lines right there. Okay, so the illusion mostly works. It's the lines back here are much thinner than what's there, so that means I just have to do this. We're gonna double up. I haven't even given any thought to what to put in the sky for this yet. But yeah, so this is today's stream. It's just me doing something a little less detail oriented in some ways, a little more detail oriented in other ways, though, because I need to get that simplicity down so I can find ways to at least get some of the detail to stand out a little bit more, because it's not all detail needs to be as dynamic as some of the stuff you see. But it doesn't mean you can slouch on it, and I've always half-assed things a little bit more than I should. So what I will do with this is collect this, shrink it down just a little bit. Yes, I see you, cat. I know. Cat's over here trying to get more food. It's almost 6 o'clock where I live. She doesn't get fed until after 7. Stinker. Okay. And the last part of my detail experiment was going to be this, where I just do a little bit of cross-hatching to just try and mirror. Ah, that's not too bad. Because what I really want to do is I want to get it down to like right down here. Yeah, it's... Oh, don't encourage her. She's 15 years old. She's senile. Yowls if she's in a room by herself. Yowls if she's in a room with other people and doesn't see them. She's an old kitty. And her behavior has gotten very bad. Keeps trying to trip everybody for some damn reason, and I don't know why. Yeah, you. This all started just a few weeks ago. I guess she's been building up to it or something. But she already gets fed like 2/3 of a can of cat food a day. And gets treats. And she's a bad influence on the other cat, because the other cat has been starting to do some of what she's been doing, even though the other cat's younger. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, this cat's a runt, too. What was it, 15 years ago, my sister found her abandoned by her mother. And she's had digestive problems, which looks like that may have been feline diabetes. Because when she uses the litter box, she's got an asshole like an A-bomb. As crude as that is to say, that's what was going on, and then I switched her foods finally. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to do, because we don't need this anymore, you just put this little bit right there. And there we go, that's our cave overlay. And the last thing I was going to do was put in trees. So there's a specific tree that I was using that I really like. I got lucky when I drew it because I came across something else that reminded me of it. So let me go back to the original Dungeons and Debt file. Open D, go to scene 1. So yeah, it was the background trees, which it's only like 3 colors, but it came out so well that I couldn't say no. To reusing it in some way or form. When I do the new details, you. I believe it's... There we go, that's them. When I get to doing the new details for the newer tunes on the backgrounds, I'm going to have to simplify everything further. Even though I don't really want to do that. But I'm going to have to. And I'm going to have to because I have to start cutting some corners in a few spots. Keep the wheels of production going. I've been trying to think of some new TF2 tunes that are a little bit more like YouTube shorts. And I just haven't been able to come up with anything other than variations on some of the ideas I've got. Like I've got one where I was going to have the sniper shooting at the scout, excuse me, the scoot. So I'm going to have the sniper shoot at the scoot, and she's taking the bonk and just talks trash while he shoots her. And then he pulls out a special bullet and shoots her with it. And it hits her in the head and it bounces off. Oh, I didn't want to shrink the screen that much. And then she laughs and says, "That didn't hurt." And then her head explodes, and the blood forms the words "ow" surrounding her, and then it turns out the sniper's got bonk bullets. And it was just a simple little idea. I just haven't figured out how to sort it out just yet. But I like the idea. It's a short enough tune. The thing is, I have to start coming up with tunes that people will watch more than once. And that's where I'm running into issues, because stuff like that, I haven't figured it out. I know YouTubers really, really like randomness. They like repetitive jokes. They like stuff that's loud. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do things this way. And these are all acquired tastes. I'm not gonna dump on people for enjoying these things. I'm just not sure I can do stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm still learning. Oh no, the reason she says the reason I was going to go for the "ow" joke at the very end is because she says that didn't hurt. So I'm playing off that little bit. But yeah, there are all kinds of little jokes that people enjoy that are dumb that I can come up with. And then there's stuff that I really want to try and put a little bit more thought into. But I don't seem to get as much luck with that. I mean, hell, I only just figured out that the reason the last Joy tune I did, where she gets was the remake where she gets eaten by the Dyson. Yeah, the reason I got so many views on that wasn't because it was a good tune, which I wouldn't say it's a good tune. I would say it was a better tune that I've made, because I was figuring some stuff out. Is because the title said cartoon in it. And so when it picked up some steam, the YouTube algorithm said, "Oh, this is a cartoon. I'll promote this to people who like cartoons today." And I could have gotten more views and watch time on Dungeons and Debt in the first 24 hours if I did that. But I'm figuring this stuff out little by little. You got to properly tag this shit, and I'm still not very good at that. Oh, one of these days I will get better at it, because I'm overdue for a little bit of success on YouTube. Granted, right now success is going to be watch time, because I need to get, what is it, 3,400 hours. Yeah, I've never figured out the algorithms. I'm starting to get a little bit of an idea of them now. Okay, that's not too bad. This needs more detail, because right now it looks like mushrooms. But I just wanted to mimic that just to get a rough idea. But yeah, the YouTube algorithm is not something I can figure out on my own. But I'm starting to get an idea. I mean, hell, if I wanted to, I suppose I could just be lazy and reanimate all the shorts that I've made already with better animation, adjust the punchlines, and then look for whatever popular fetish is on 4chan these days and put some of that in there and sit back and wait and see if something happens. Because I'm not oblivious to that. I've drawn enough adult content to know that there's an audience for this stuff everywhere. But I also know that sometimes, whether it's related to somebody's kink or not, if it's a funny joke, it's a funny joke. So let's see. That looks better with that color. So now the hard part. Now that I know what works, I got to simplify it. But yeah, I'm more than well aware of Rule 32 and Rule 34, and how much how you don't need to rely on all that stuff. But sometimes you mix a little bit of that in, you get an extra 1,000 views or 2,000 views. Because I've done enough adult art commissions by now to figure out what people like. Okay, so in order to make this look a little bit more like a tree instead of like giant mushrooms, I just do a little bit more of this here. I don't know, I suppose if I really wanted to succeed, I could do the one thing that I'm not sure I could pull it off, and that is make a channel that's kid-friendly and then rely on doing cartoons that way. And I'm not sure if I'm going to have to swallow my pride and do that or what. But I keep seeing what the cartoon channels are getting in terms of views and how they have no quality to them whatsoever. And I've been watching that stuff happen for probably 7 years now. And I've always turned my nose up at it. Just because I want to put out stuff that's original. But because I've hosed myself because of real life problems, and I don't have the audience anymore that I might have if I'd left things alone and just said I needed a break. Who knows what's going to happen? But one thing I do know for certain is I'm trying to work on humor just a little bit more. Just because with all the crap coming around the corner that's going to hit the world, I think people are going to need something to laugh at. Or chuckle at, in my case, because I haven't been quite able to get the laughter I used to in my work. I don't even remember how I came up with some of the jokes that I did when I was in my 20s now. Maybe it was because maybe it's because I was just exploring stuff that I didn't know. But I really want to try and do some of that again. I don't know how. I'm sure the answer will present itself to me at some point in my life. But for right now, I'm kind of going blind. Because I know how to do a few types of humor pretty well now. I don't remember how to be random, though. Because it's like El Toro's amazing TF2 shorts that he makes. He has mastered how to do stuff randomly. And I've been watching him, and unfortunately, because I catch patterns, I can mimic what other people do, but I don't want to mimic what other people do. I want to do my own thing, and I haven't Still haven't found out how to do that yet. I'm getting there, though. One of the things I found I really like is wordplay. Lots of people enjoy the old content. They don't like the new content so much anymore. The new stuff is much better made, which is good because I've grown as an artist. And it's paced better. But I haven't been able to match the silliness that I used to. It's like the Left 4 Dead tune that I'm going to do, well, series I'm going to do. All of a sudden, when I realized what I needed to do with it, it stopped being a Left 4 Lol project, even though that's what it was always designed to be. Because I've got one big moment that happens, and it's actually very original. It's something I'm very proud of coming up with, and I still can't believe I came up with it, because it's one of those moments where you get to see a character just let loose and be who they are, even though the character is a pyromaniac. Because what I was originally gonna do with Left 4 Lol, when I was gonna do the new episodes, is it was gonna be like 90-second tunes. It was gonna be 1 week after the big outbreak, and so it's how Francis meets Lewis, how Lewis and Francis meet Bill, and then, because I wanted to do something original, there's no Zoe up until the last episode of the first 4 episodes. And instead of Zoe, they meet a character named Shirley. And Shirley is a combination of the Pyro from TF2 and the Scout. And Shirley is a prisoner who's arrested for arson, who's just doing what Francis, Bill, and Lewis are doing. They're essentially trying to get out of the city. And they're trying to find a SEDA base. And that was going to be the story. It's 4 characters, nobody knows each other. This is when everybody meets each other for the first time. And rather than have Zoe, I have a character that I made up, who is kind of crazy, because she is a pyromaniac, and she's not all there, and she's treating everything like it's a game and it's fun. And she gets to go around and start fires and burn the infected. And she's an annoying character. And the only reason she's kept around is because, since everybody is new and doesn't know what's going on, Shirley does know what's going on. She knows that there are special infected out there. And the special infected are still in the early stages of mutating. So the idea is, she gets kept because she knows a little bit more about what's going on, even though Francis hates her, Bill doesn't like her, and Lewis doesn't know what to think of her. But they've got their own crude team. And I was thinking of doing maybe 9 episodes of this, where essentially it ends with the four characters from Left 4 Dead meeting each other up and forming their own team. But there's all kinds of interesting things about that I got planned. So because Shirley's crazy, you've still got the classic Left 4 Dead monsters there, but they're called something different. And so instead of a hunter, what did I have her call it? She calls the hunters bouncy bouncies, and she calls the smokers the French, and she calls actually, boomers are, that's right, boomers are brand new, so she doesn't have a name for the boomers. Doesn't have a name for tanks yet, but smokers are the French, and hunters are bouncy bouncies. And so they're kind of stuck with her, and then while that's going on in the background, I wanted to basically, I completely forgot that Left 4 Dead 2 did this, where where Sita and the army realize that it's a losing battle, and rather than take survivors, they start killing them because they don't know who's gonna turn into an infected or who's a carrier. And so I was gonna have that be there, and then I was gonna have Zoe on her own for an episode, kind of making contact with everybody else, and she's kind of she gets to be the missing piece of everything. And it's a fun idea, but it's not left for lol now, because it starts off very silly, and then it starts to actually get a little serious, and then it ends kind of serious too. So I don't know if I can get away with calling it left for lol anymore. I may just end up calling it Left 4 Dead Forsaken. For spelled Four, because I was just going to end the first few episodes with Zoe waking up in her apartment, having been drunk for a week, and then it's the end of the world. But we'll see how things are going, because when I was animating that, I kept trying to match my old style, and that started to become a hindrance instead of helpful. So I will have to come up with something a little new. But that was the whole project, and I've actually had that project sit in the back of my head for a while. What would happen? Explaining how the Left 4 Dead team got together, and what would happen if the original fourth member was actually somebody that drove everybody else insane. Well, the idea I had was this is a week after the first infection, so Sita just gets the order now to stop taking in survivors and instead start killing them, because the danger of carriers is too great. Which that was a big part of the comics that they did. Okay. Well, there we go. Those still don't look like trees. And I can cheat a little bit though. With this background, I can do this and change the color to this, where now it is really light. It's a little too light. So, yeah, that was the original idea that I had. Just darkening up just a smidge. There we go. That was the original idea I had for a 9-episode thing. The only problem was the last episode. I got to get somebody to do. I got to get some singer to do an old Billy Idol song. And so that means you got to pay somebody to sing it. You got to pay, what was it, $300 for the license, I think. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like $300 for it's like an engineer, some kind of a music engineer's license that says, okay, for like $20, you can have somebody sing this copywritten song with permission for one video, and when they say one video, I believe that means one location. So if I wanted to post it on Instagram, that would be a couple bucks. And if I wanted to post it on YouTube, also that would be a couple bucks. So yeah, I've been learning about this stuff so I can actually do that, because I've got musical sequences in my head that would be really fantastic, but the problem is it's copywritten music, and to get copywritten music you have to pay a lot of money. And I don't make a lot of money. I don't make much of any money right now. So I got to be a little bit more careful. So I'll just find someone who can sing a song, say, could you do this for this budget? And I got a friend who knows how to remaster music, and knows how to do her own music as well. Okay, last part of this before I call it a day, because it's getting close to dinner time. My father is on extra protein, so we're doing burgers tonight. But he's already had his pudding today, and he's had his pancakes. God, what else has he eaten? Oh yeah, he's had grapes, and he's got to get some more vegetables and stuff like that. Okay, that's starting to look a little bit like a forest. But yeah, I've been finding myself missing Left 4 Dead, even though I know it's a dead series. Maybe that's for the best. I'm not sure Valve could put out something that wouldn't just be an expansion and top what they've already done. I thought it was nice that they did that little update to Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 where they put in that fan campaign that was 2 levels long in the junkyard. But I don't know if they could even get the same voice actors to voice the characters now, because some of those voice actors are bigger actors now and be a lot more expensive. Yeah, okay, I think that'll work. Yeah, here I am trying to do minimal detail on everything, and I've spent, what, 2 hours on this one panel. It's paid off. I know I'll get faster at doing this stuff the more I do it. Yep. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Jim French passed away several years ago. And then we just lost Rick May 2 years ago in the TF2 community. And I know they're overdue. Valve has some kind of an update planned for that game that's going to happen at some point. The only problem right now is they're dealing with all those damn bots. And I haven't gone back to play TF2 because of the bots, but also because this computer that I got didn't have the processing speed I thought it did, so playing TF2 has a fair amount of lag to it. It makes me miss my old computer. But my old computer's hard drive died on me, and some of the other parts are got to be about 10 years old now, so I got to get with the times. Yeah, how many years did I have that old desktop? 4 or 5. It's like 7 years. Didn't have much trouble with it because it was made to be used for something graphics heavy. That made life easier. Oh, I hear thumping on the stairs. I better go check that out. One moment. Well, I guess that's going to be about the end of the stream because my father wants food. So we've got page 1 here. This almost looks legit. I need to do a little bit better job on some of these trees back here, and then I will be a little lazy and cannibalize this one section right here, and just carry that on over here. But we'll see how things go, because I would like to get some more detail in here. I think I probably am going to have to move this big old tree right there out of the way. Yeah. I'll lose a little bit of detail, but it's worth it. Because I got to have a little detail to show off that section there so it doesn't feel so congested. Okay. Here's panel 1. We got everything establishing. And I'll find a new way to get some detail over there to make that look a little bit more sinister. But for right now, that is going to be the end of today's stream. I was going to work for another 20 minutes, but it sounds like my folks are hungry. So, as I am the caretaker and the caregiver right now, I've got to make sure everybody gets taken care of. So, that's going to be the end of today's stream. I will probably do another stream in a day or so. Hopefully I can get back to doing some animation soon enough. So I will catch people later, and thanks for hanging out with me.